there has been a huge influx of run clubs coming out of the woodworks. We've seen the Lululemon, QSW. We
Yeah.
went to that run club
Yes, sir.
actually. That started that year.
My opinion, I think it's more important for the community it creates.
Yes.
Because when it creates a community, now, like you said, from that community, obviously it's a big community. It could be a big community
Yes.
initially. But as any community, there's going to be little subsections of people that relate to one another to a different level, right? Or to connect.
And we back at it again.
You already
Far
know.
from normal. Whoo!
Let's get it. You already know. Far from Normal podcast. We back at it.
Yes, sir. I really started the day on a high note.
Yeah, it's amazing. First of all, it's an amazing day in the city.
Yes.
Like,
yes,
well, how much
yes.
degrees was it?
Well, it started off pretty, I would say pretty cold in the sense that it was like 5 degrees
Oh,
ish.
shit.
Yeah, so it was kind of cold in the morning, but
Okay.
the city was buzzing because while we were in the semi-cold, a race was brewing at the same time.
Yeah, what happened?
So we went to go watch, me and my girl went to go watch a 10K race
Okay.
in the downtown core. It was different this time around because I typically am running these type of races, but this time I was cheering. I was at a cheer station while this was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to see the other side of running. And it was very interesting in the sense that when you're a runner and you're putting the preparations for running, it's exciting, it's exhilarating, you're running, people are cheering, you're getting your gels, you're making content, you got your phone out, you're recording all the fans that are on the sidelines that are cheering you on. You're inspired, you get the adrenaline rush, and you're trying to step on it, especially when you're getting closer to the end. And when you're on the cheer side, now you're also still excited. You're excited to see all the runners that are coming out.
Mhm.
You're also inspired because you're seeing young kids running with their parents. You're seeing adults having strollers and they're rolling their child all the way to the finish line. Babies, like really young children. You're talking about 1-2 years old just in there, baby stroller, and they're getting rolled all the way to the finish line. You're seeing guys that have probably kids that are disabled or whatnot, and they'll have wheelchairs and they'll be pushing them all the way to the finish line. So when you see people doing those stuff, being on the sidelines, and I'm speaking for people that have never ran before,
Yeah.
it really inspires you and motivates you to want to partake in something of that sort because you're looking at people and you're saying, if these people can do this with all these other extra stuff that's in sight, and I wouldn't say in their way, but they're almost like an obstacle course. It's almost like an extra burden. It's almost like putting a weight on your back.
Of course.
And they're able to do what they're doing. Then why can't I do it with nothing but a backpack or a couple of gels on me?
Okay, so you're saying like, because pretty much, obviously, both of us have competed.
Yes.
We've done that 10K that you're talking about
Yes.
in the city as well. And we've done marathon, ultra marathon. So we know what it
Yes.
feels like, at least running these big races with like so
Yes.
many people. But you're telling me, because I haven't really been a fan, like, or seen it as a spectator.
Yes.
Like, I haven't been to a race where I kind of wasn't in it. The time I actually did that was I even partook in the race when you did
exactly. You felt the FOMO effect.
Yeah, I had the FOMO effect where I actually wanted to join the race, and I actually did unofficially, but I ended up finishing this 10K and got my medal. So shout out to that. So the funny thing about it is, like, maybe you're right, because I remember that day when I didn't expect to run the 10K and you guys were going along. A bunch of friends were going to run the 10K. This has happened a couple years ago. So a couple friends were going to run this 10K, and I was just there to record. I wasn't there to, even participate or anything. Wasn't dressed, didn't have the shoes. So as I was running just to record the content, just the excitement and the crowd and everything going on actually motivated me to get into the race. And I actually did impromptu race. Like I joined the race unofficially, and I finished that finish line, and I got a medal out of it. So I understand what you're saying, how watching people get certain feats accomplished, how it can motivate you and inspire you, especially if you haven't been in that position before. I think you have to see it to believe it. And when you see people, like you said, pushing a stroller while running the 10K, you said someone was holding a boat and doing the 10K.
Yeah.
Explain that
Who's
story.
going to carry the boat? So, yeah.
Literally. David Goggins
special.
So explain
Stay
that.
hard.
Explain what happened.
So it was actually interesting. I'm happy that you brought that up because I almost forgot. So, yeah, I seen this gentleman carrying a boat. Obviously, when we're talking about a boat, we're thinking it's going to be multiple people. You know, it's going to be 2 or 3 people holding a big canoe type of boat. But this time around, when I was looking, it was just one guy holding one boat, to the point that he had to have walked it. I don't know if he walked it from the beginning, but he had to walk it at some point because the boat was that big. It was actually insane that he did it for 10K, because people need to understand, when you're holding a boat over your head, your shoulders are feeling the most pressure because you're holding your arms in one place for a long period of time. So my assumption is he's been training with that boat for a while.
Of course he has.
Yeah, you have to train with a boat and like holding a weight for that period of time, because I commend him for doing what he was doing, because what he was doing was not easy at all. I mean, just imagine when we were doing the sprinting race and you're holding the canister
the
over
60-pound canister, and that was
that's
pretty
that's
crazy.
leaning on your shoulder, right?
Yeah.
And then the sandbags,
and
you're holding that, but we couldn't even hold that for a kilometer.
Yeah, a kilometer is pretty tough.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be tough. And that's it, leaning on your shoulders or something of that sort.
Of course.
This is not leaning on the shoulders. He's just
arm
kind of
strength.
It's just arm strength, and you're just holding it like this.
Wow.
And you're just walking. So
Soldier.
he was a true soldier for that. So I definitely commend him on that. But you always see like funny characters that come out to these things.
Of course.
Last week I seen a guy coming out as Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
the
lightsaber.
Yeah, the lightsaber, and he was running. I guess it got too hot, so he put the robe over his neck. Right? So we had that guy. We had this week we had a couple guys in the banana costume.
Yeah.
We had superheroes come out.
Of course.
So we had the Batman, the Superman. We had a couple Marvel characters.
Okay,
We
that's
had who else did we have going on? Oh, one guy was dressed in one of those plush toys. It's like a pony. It's a pony, some kind of pony. He was on that. But the thing is, the point I'm just saying is people are dressed ridiculously.
They're making statements. They're promoting. They're doing marketing.
Speaking of promoting, that's the one thing I forgot to mention about the guy with the boat. So not only was he carrying the boat, it was a form of marketing because he had a QR code on the boat. Not exactly sure
Genius.
Yeah, genius marketing.
Yeah.
Came at a huge cost.
Of course, huge
but
price.
It caught
worth the
attention. And that's the name of the game, especially when it's content creation. It's about who's going to look and notice what you're doing and what you're trying to portray. And who's going to ask questions on what the heck is this guy doing? Because that's what you need. You need people to say,
what the hell?
What the hell? Yeah, exactly.
What the hell? What the hell, Burton? Like, you need that type of crazy form of marketing. And that's what's going on nowadays. Like you see on social media all the time. There was that Chinese guy you're showing me that had the crazy marketer where he's on social media and he'll put like a viral video that's like outrageous video, catches
Tony,
your
his
attention.
name's actually Tony.
Yeah, captures your attention, then he promotes something.
Yes.
Like people are getting smart with the shit. So like I commend that guy that did that. But speaking on that, just because I want to get too much in that situation, speaking on running and everything that comes with that, we're now back to the springtime, we're back to the summer, sun's out, and you know what that means. Run clubs.
Sun's out, guns out.
Sun's out, guns out.
There you go.
You know what that means. Everybody's
Ladies
out.
are out.
Ladies are out. You know, people are running. And obviously, as of recently, people have gone to running big time. And that's also, you know, people refer to them as dating spaces where people can meet, you know, folks that are interested in fitness and that type of wellness, healthy lifestyle. So what's your thoughts on run clubs now in this day and age? Are you thinking there's something that helps you for your running? Do you think they're more of a social thing where people are just meeting one another when there's nowhere else to go meet organically? Like, what's your thoughts on the run club culture now?
So my thing is, first of all, the run club culture has exploded. I think it started to explode last year. I think that's when there has been a huge influx of run clubs coming out of the woodworks. We've seen the Lululemon, QSW. We went to that run club actually. That started that year.
Oh, did it?
That's what I'm saying.
So a lot of
run clubs were just starting up. So you're starting to see a lot of big brand athletic wear type of companies are starting to form companies that revolve around their brand. Okay. So QSW is promoted to Lululemon community. So people that wear Lululemon things and as well as just building that community, strengthening that community. So it's not only about shopping at Lululemon. We also care about you. And I think a lot of these companies want to show their members that they care about them, that it's not only about you purchasing an item in our stores. We also form a community with like-minded individuals so that you can find those like-minded individuals and you can connect with them. And hopefully through that, maybe you could start dating that individual, possibly marrying that individual. And I think a lot of these run clubs today are trying to create an atmosphere in which people can meet and actually see these people, like just seeing these people face to face, just seeing them face to face and making a connection. And then people within those connections makes subgroups. That's what I noticed too. Yeah. So you start off in these communities, and then like you find community. Then you find a little tribe within yourself that you have like-minded people, and then you make a subculture, and then those people tend to start their own group. You know, that's another funny thing.
That's what I noticed. Like, you know, I know people like to refer to run clubs as, you know, these dating spaces and stuff like that. But in my opinion, I think it's more important for the community it creates. Yes. Because when it creates a community, now, like you said, from that community, obviously it's a big community. It could be a big community initially. But as any community, there's going to be little subsections of people that relate to one another to a different level, right? Or that connect to one another better, or whatever the case may be. And that's just being relatable with people. So I think that's the more important part. And then from that, I think from creating a community and then meeting new people, now you can create something else. And then, like you said, if it comes down to dating and stuff like that, well, now you've expanded beyond that run club. Like you went to your own little subgroups and you met other people in other groups. And I think you've expanded. But in my opinion, I think the big thing about it is community and just being able to meet people and network. Because I think the more people you know, the more people you can kind of connect with, especially like-minded people. If you're in a like-minded space and people are connecting with you, that means most likely it's a good space to find somebody if that's what you're looking for it. But I do like the aspect of it getting people outside in a fitness sense compared to a lot of other things where it's like you're going out to drink to meet people. You get what I mean? So I think the fitness aspect of it is why I think it's successful. I think people are leaning more towards wellness and health these days than they are towards, the other things going on.
So that's what I was gonna ask about, and you just mentioned it: health and wellness, and how important it is nowadays than what it was before. Because I could argue that now, because I heard even Coachella, like they're about to change that into a more health and wellness approach to it. So when you go out there, it's more about relaxation, meditation, just tranquility. Maybe like cold plunges, saunas, stuff of that sort. They're trying to make it in a more health and wellness because they're starting to notice that Gen Zs are not so big on the whole music festival thing where people are going there and they're getting smashed and they're getting sauced and
They're figuring out that
yeah,
they're not
they're
really
saying
into
that,
that. They're not partying hard.
they're not partying hard and they're not into the drugs as much. It's not as prevalent as it was for other generations.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out how to cater to their style of living now. And I think more people are health conscious. I'm thinking it really became that when COVID hit. I think COVID played a huge role in that with the whole 6 feet away and, making sure you're sanitizing your hands, washing your hands, just trying to stay as healthy as possible. I think that kind of bred the fear in a lot of people where they're like, I need to start taking better care of my health and so on and so forth. So just being isolated for that time period has created a different niche where it just kind of switched how people look at health and wellness.
But I think why things have switched that way is just because like we're in the technological age where everything
That too.
Yeah.
That too.
Everything is like predicated on your phone and you have to always be on the internet connected to Wi-Fi. Like you always need something some type of technology in order to advance your life and move forward or do anything. And a lot of times you have stress because of that, because you never have time to relax. You're like always overstimulated, pretty much is what's going on. So I think that especially with generations younger, they've been overstimulated from younger in the sense that they've absorbed a lot more information at a younger age than even millennials have. Even though we've absorbed a lot, imagine them. They were getting iPads and God knows what grade, right?
Well, we came up in a generation where it was all
It's a
being
mixture
introduced,
too.
but we're a little older.
Yeah, we're older.
So we've actually experienced the world without social media.
Yes, like in our early stages
our
of
early
life
stages.
where they came in
And it was already there.
and so much stuff is going on social media. I mean, kids know about YouTube God knows what age, right? Like I can imagine a kid knows about YouTube at the age of 3.
Yes.
Like, so it's just like I think that overstimulation is now affecting them as they're getting older. So now they're more.
Should it affect them? Because if they started looking at it at the age of 3, you would think that they would just adapt to everything that's going on. They would be the most well adapted. Most adapted to the social media.
But you
age.
never know. You never know. They could be. I mean, that's like the hippies. And then when a different generation comes, it changes. They're not going to be the hippies no more. Like you got different mentalities. It doesn't carry on. Even if you're like an easygoing generation, then the next generation can be, a bunch of people that are more uptight and focused and whatever workers. Kind of depends on what's going on in the society. And I just think in this day and age, there's a lot of pressure with social media. So I can see why people would rather do something more like geared towards health wellness rather than the other stuff, because again, that stuff's not offering anything towards you. I think people are figuring it out too. It's like certain lifestyles aren't really pushing you forward, aren't really helping you, aren't really giving you peace of mind. I think people are a little bit more concerned about having peace of mind and the peace of and tranquility. A lot of people want to disconnect, but it's just that we're so intertwined that you can't disconnect. You get what I mean? So you need something to go to, somewhere to go to where it's like, okay, we're going to get rid of all this and we're going to decompress for real. Like we're really going to detox ourselves. And I think that's going to be a big thing going forward, like where people are going to try and detox from like all this social media, technology shit, all this stuff.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I already see myself doing that now. Whereas like in certain routines that I have, like in the morning, I try not to look at social media until about, let's say if I wake up at 5 in the morning, I'll probably look at 1 or 2 videos just because I'll look at my time, right? And so I'll look at 1, 2 videos. But my thing is I want to refrain from looking at social media until I'm at work. So basically by the time it's, let's say I work at 6, let me not look at it till 6:30. So if I wake up at 5, I shouldn't look at it until 6:30. Giving myself the adjustment, giving myself time to really just free flow, hearing my thoughts. First thing in the morning, possibly wanting to stretch, get myself right, possibly go to the gym, right? Get myself right before I go to work, and then I'll be open to social media because it's like once I open it up at work, I'm gonna be on it all day, and then after going home and going back to the gym, just so I can once again decompress, probably do cardio or so on and so forth, rather than just going home and then wanting to jump on social media again and just mindlessly scrolling for God knows how long before I go to sleep, right? Eating dinner, scrolling, just doing the whole nine, talking to all these different people. So I think just making that shift. But I was gonna say, in terms of dating, do you think social media has exaggerated how relationships should go and how people should conduct themselves when
Yeah,
it comes to relationships?
that's a good question because when it comes to social media, I was always like a fan of not really posting your partner on social media. I've never been a fan of it, and reason why is because I always ask myself, why do you have to show, first of all, your own personal life, one, so not even forget about a relationship. Why do you feel compelled to show your personal life? And then why would you show someone else's life with you on social media for whose gratification or whose satisfaction? So my whole thing is I go, well, why would I post certain things? So I look at social media as this. If it's not my main family members on it, then why would I post all the personal stuff that's going on in my life? If I had just my family members or just my close friends on my social media, that's a different story. But as we both know, we have people that follow us that we don't know too well. Some people we don't even know. And shit is public. So why would I post my private life to a public space where anybody and everybody can get access to it because I voluntarily offered it on my platform, for them to go into that, potentially stir trouble, potentially be nosy, potentially, someone DM me or ask a question or whatever the case may be, all for what?
I think
Where was the benefit of me posting it outside of me just showing to the strangers on my social media what's going on in my life?
I believe the value in that is more egotistical than anything else. So it's more about validation. It's more about satisfying your ego. And it's also trying to show the world that you got things figured out, even if you don't. So again, when we talk about social media, it's more like a highlight reel where people post things. Well, they'll post the best version of things, and then it gives you an image of, damn, they got it all figured out. They have this relationship going on. They're in this run club. They're working out at this gym, and so on and so forth. So it's more of a form of where people can establish a level of aspiration where people are looking at them and say, I want to be that. I want to do what they're doing. I want to join, right? So you're marketing yourself to the world.
Yes.
And you're telling them, if you want to live a better life, you want to hop on my bandwagon.
I guess it's just the difference of you being a private person and a public person. To be fair, like for me, I'm a private person when it comes to private things. So I'm not going to post certain things that I believe to be private because, again, I don't want my business out there. And dare I say, if you want to get criticized or you want to receive or hear things you don't like, put your private information in the public space and you'll see what you're going to get from that. So I just learned from what I've seen with others with their private situation becoming public and what that can turn into. And I've just realized that it's not necessary. It's not something that strengthens a relationship either way. I don't think it helps the relationship. And I don't think it's something that should even hurt a relationship, whether someone wants to do that or not. I think it does cause troubles in relationship for sure because posting sometimes can create tension with maybe exes, maybe, people that, had past relations with that person, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes that's another issue that people don't want to deal with. And, you don't want a random person messaging you saying, hey, I know this girl from around the way and et cetera, et cetera. Like, so you try to avoid certain shit. So I do think that social media tends to even exaggerate other people's relationships, like you said, like a highlight reel. And unfortunately, what happens is when you start posting, it becomes that comparison, and how they say comparison is a thief of joy. So once you start comparing and contrasting your relationship with one other person's relationship or three other people's relationships, all of a sudden you might fall short on what you're doing with your woman or what your woman's doing for you. So I think it's better to like live in the moment, live in the real life, and not really look into social media for validation of your own relationship and what you're doing or not doing.
Okay, so but do you think it's disingenuous if you don't post your partner on social media? What's your thoughts on that?
See, that's where when you ask if it's disingenuous, this is where you have to understand who your partner is and who you're dealing with. I think in some scenarios you have to make sure that your partner's transparent with you, of course, and you understand their personality and how they are. So if someone's private, you would know that that's probably something they're not going to do. You wouldn't have to guess about that. Now, if someone's very public about their life and everything they do is very public, then wouldn't it make sense that the relationship is public? So you kind of reap what you sow, right? So if you decide to come in the relationship as a very, very public person, that might be a pressure you have to deal with if you have a woman with you, because that attention that you get may cause confusion unless you let the record be straight, and that would be in a public manner, right? If you're a very public person. But now if you're a private person, you posting them in a sense doesn't even tie into what it is you do, because you're not even a public person, right? So you're private. So when you're private, I think the understanding's there. I think it's never disingenuous if you know who your partner is, how their personality is, and what they're comfortable with doing. I think you would figure that out from the beginning.
Interesting. That's an interesting thought process on the matter, because I also think in terms of when it comes to disingenuous and if you don't post them.
Yeah, because this is a I would say this is a statement that people do say, that it seems disingenuous if someone doesn't want to post their partner on social media.
Yes, I also don't believe it's disingenuous, just because an online persona and an offline persona are two different things. So even with the posting of a photo and whatnot, you're gonna look for the best photo first of all, right?
Yeah.
So isn't that disingenuous as well, right?
Trying to find the picture perfect moment. At this place and this beach and that. You get what I mean?
So
it's all fake
it's all
anyways.
fake, right? It's not fake in the sense that those things didn't happen, like those memories didn't happen. You did go on that trip. You did do certain activities. Those things are all real, but that doesn't give you the full picture of the relationship and how it stays together and what keeps them whole.
Of course,
right? You're looking at all the good times, the fun times,
glitz and glams,
right? So those things can, I would say, misguide a person.
Of course,
to think that everything needs to be enjoyable. Where it's like, okay, I'm not gonna, if a guy's not doing certain things for me, I'm not gonna wait around and stick around because I seen Betty doing this with her man, right? So now comparison is a thief of joy, but now they're making that comparison thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. Then you find out that, that guy wasn't all cracked up. He wasn't, what's that saying that they say? He wasn't all, he wasn't as good as people thought he was. You know what I mean? So for a woman can look on the other side and just think that maybe the guy that I'm looking for, like the guy of my dreams, might be this guy,
Yeah.
but he may not be that. Just what he portrayed and how he illustrated his relationship, he created a fantasy for you, in which now you may have got hooked on.
Of course. That's why you have to tailor your expectations when it comes to social media. You have to make sure. Yeah, I think that a lot of people get confused with those type of things, and I think you just have to enjoy the moment when you're with somebody. I think that's what it comes down to. I think people are too concerned about outside opinion, and I think that's where our culture has been leaning towards, just outside opinions and trying to please people we don't know. I think that's where you fail. If you start trying to please people you don't know, then you're going to be doing anything to make it look like you're doing something, right? Even when you're not doing anything, you're going to be posting like you're doing something. And what's the benefit in that? How much times do we see people posting, but they're not doing shit in real life?
Yes.
Like, nothing's happening. So
Yes.
it's like, yeah, that's cool. You could do that. And like, yeah, the masses can be fooled, but it's like, you're not going nowhere. So this is what I kind of mean, even with like relationships. Sometimes you're not even in a good relationship, and you're posting pictures with what you did a couple months ago, or whatever the case may be. And people might be like, "Wow, like I wish I aspired to be that, have a girl like that, or have a relationship like that," not knowing you guys are dealing with all types of problems. So I think like you don't want to do false portrayals. Live in the moment. Enjoy what it is you're doing. So if you're with somebody, enjoy that. Don't let social media come in between that. I think that a lot of the time puts a strain on a lot of relationships because expectations are high and because people want to be shown off. I think that as well. Some people like to be showed off, like, this is my girl, this is my man. Like, they want to get like credit for it sometimes. You want to tie your success to somebody else. I'm not really like that. If I enjoy somebody, I enjoy you for you, not because I want to post you or claim you like in that public space, like to say, that you're number one and you need to be on my platform. No, I'm not really on that type of time.
I hear you on that. That's quite interesting because I do want to ask you about your thoughts on you being in a relationship, but you guys do the same things. So that means you guys are in the same social groups. So you go to maybe the same sporting events, or you do the same sport.
Yeah.
Go to the same gym. Mingle with around the same people, same group of people. Their friends are your friends, and your friends are their friends. What's your thoughts on a situation like that? Do you feel comfortable with that? Can you genuinely feel comfortable with that and say, you know what, yeah, my girl's friends are same friends of mine. They know whatever they know about me will potentially come through the grapevine of my woman, or potentially just going to the same community events, community clubs. Is that too close to home?
I think it's like, again, this comes down to like you being a private person, or if you're a person that's comfortable with your information.
But how about if she's not giving you out information?
Well, regardless of the scenario, I think some people like distance. Me personally, I like distance. But some people like closeness, because closeness means safety. It means a trust, right? And with distance, it means unknown and kind of weary, like, you're teetering, you don't know, unsure. So I think you have to pick your poison when it comes to any type of relationship. If you're dealing with somebody that's a stranger, doesn't do the same things as you, doesn't know the same people as you, not around the same kind of stuff as you, there's a lot of unknowns there. There's a lot of things that you have to figure out with time. And there might be good things or bad things. It depends. They do say opposites attract, so that's a possibility. But now, with closeness, you have, of course, the closeness is great. Someone's interested in exactly kind of what you're doing and got the same friends. Easy going, nice, smooth. So at the end of the day, if there's nothing to hide, then those are the best scenarios, right? You rather closeness than distance, but some people rather distance just because some people don't necessarily want their woman attached or their man attached to, friends of theirs, because if something does go wrong, where do we stand with our friend group? You know, what's the priority now? Who, you know, are we still chilling together? And this happens a lot where people break up in the same friend group, but then they have to be around each other now. And it's like kind of awkward, and or somebody has to step away. So, you know, you have to look at it in the optimistic way, right? So I'd say it's a good thing. I wouldn't look at it in a negative sense if something bad happens, but that is the reality if something bad does happen.
I actually only know one person that keeps his family life outside of his friend group circles, his communities,
Yeah.
workout situations, so on and so forth. And he's very intertwined with community events and also working a full-time job. I always find it interesting because, you know, he's a good friend of mine, but, you know, I've never seen his kids. You know, he has 2 kids, I've never seen them. He has a wife I've never seen. So you're kind of like, what exactly is going on? How come I don't know these people? You know what I mean?
Again, some people, I think they're private, and sometimes, you know, knowing someone's wife, knowing someone's children and stuff of that nature, what relevance is it towards you?
Well, that's how you build a stronger bond, a stronger friendship, because now if I don't see you for whatever a certain period of time, I can track from your counterpart, your spouse. Oh, have you seen so and so? I haven't seen them in a while. What's going on? But it's like, well, there's no line to get to that person.
I think not everyone wants to be like traceable like that too, right? That's why I told you about like being private and being public. Like, I mean, some people don't want to be, you know, in a situation where you could call my partner and then get in contact with me. It's like, no, if I didn't contact you, it's because I didn't contact you. There's no one else that can get to me. Like, you only can get to me through me. You ain't gonna get through me through somebody else. And some people have those boundaries. That's just a boundary I think some certain people have. Now, whether you agree with it or not, that's kind of on you, because whoever has that boundary, that's how they decide to operate. You can look at it strange, but, you know, everyone lives a different lifestyle. Everyone does things differently. Everyone operates differently. Now, if that's something that, you know, is an issue for whoever, it's an issue. But I think ultimately it's not a big deal. I think just people live life differently, and it's hard to wrap your head around people's kind of ways of living.
Interesting.
I think everyone has their own niche, their own weird thing they do, certain things you don't agree with. But I think that's just, you know, part of being human. I think we all have different ways we live that you won't understand and I won't understand, and we just move forward. As long as what we're doing is on point and what we're doing has that, you know, because at the end of the day, someone can be fake to you too, right? Like, and pose as they're real. Like,
Yeah.
You never know the truth.
That's
So
true.
it doesn't really matter if they're upfront or not upfront. At least you kind of know what they're upfront about and what they're not upfront about. You can kind of gauge certain things, right? So I rather that personally. Rather that.
Yeah, because he could be one of those guys where they don't even mention that they have a wife and have kids, right? So at least we know that much. I know his wife's name. I know his kids' names. But
Yeah, some people live a different
yeah,
lifestyle.
they
like,
just
you know,
don't. They just don't share that information.
Not at all. You know, you won't know anything about them, which is, like I said, how you decide to live your life. If you decide to live it public or private. But I think in this day and age, it's tough to be private because everything has a kind of leak, you know, somewhere. And at the end of the day, it's tough with social media, bro.
It is.
With social media, like they said, that we're eventually all going to be living in a glass house, which we're already almost there.
Streaming is kind of showing that because
'cause we're
people are
living-
talking to the chat, and it's like, chat, what should I do here? Chat,
Everyone
what should I
can
do
see
that?
you, like
Everyone
they
can
know what
see
you're
you, yeah.
eating, know what you're doing. You know, like we're all gonna live in a glass house where everyone can see what everyone else is doing. Everything's
Insane.
gonna be a stream. Like the life is gonna be a stream, bro.
Ooh, that could
They're
be.
gonna
Remember,
stream
remember
life,
that
like,
meme
they're
I
gonna
showed
stream
you?
life,
Well,
bro.
remember,
Look at the camera and the satellite streaming.
I can imagine. Cause remember that meme I sent you where it's like 2005. A guy falls off his motorcycle. He's asking for help. The guy comes he goes to the car. He gets out the car, helps the
him.
guy. Then you go to 2015, and then the guy is recording them. He's laughing. You're gonna go viral. You're gonna go viral. That remember back in the day, you used to come world star, world star.
Of course.
Right. So people just put you up on YouTube or world star or whatever, and then you would either go viral, but you will get known somehow, some way. Not exactly sure, but it's always like degenerate stuff, you know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying. So with people knowing that you can make money off social media, a lot of people are not gonna be like thinking smart. They're just gonna be thinking outrageous. It's just like we talked about the marketing where the guy's holding the boat over his head.
Yeah.
He's doing something outrageous. He could have done something more stupid that would have even worked better than that. Hard. That was
hard. That's something
that was physically taxing,
that was taxing.
Not worth, like you said. Like I mean,
he got the attention.
but at what cost? At what cost?
Yeah.
Like this guy's shoulders are gonna be all ruined, right?
Yeah.
So some people would use a different strategy, and that could be something that reaches more eyes, right? And again, social media is the perfect place for that type of thing, right? So this is the thing. There's always advantages and disadvantages to being more of a private person and a public person. If you're looking to advance yourself or market stuff and promote stuff, you definitely want to utilize social media. But I think when it comes to your private life, I think that's when you have to really nitpick and decide what type of person you want to be. Do you want to be open book for everybody to read, or do you want to pick and choose which pages and which chapters of your life are available for people to see, and which pages are you closing the book on?
I personally think that we are all products and we're all marketing ourselves, whether we like it or not. How you choose to market yourself will determine if you win in life or if you lose in life. For example, when you go to school, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, the sport you play, that will deem you if you're popular or not. You know what I mean?
Of course.
The certain types of guys that you hang out with, what you do after school, all that plays a role to the level of person you are. And I say that because even when you look at, let's just say, for example, even the most basic water, like commodity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how it's marketed, will determine if you're going to buy that bottle of water or not. Mind you, everything is water.
Zero calories.
Zero calories,
one.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we have how many different types of brands of water?
Yeah.
So if people are willing to buy all these different brands of water, what does that tell you? It tells you that marketing is something that's ingrained in all of us. And even when we want to get a certain type of woman, we got to market ourselves a certain type of way. And it's vice versa for women. If they want a certain type of man, they got to market themselves a certain way. That's why you got women that are doing BBLs, breast augmentations or implants and lip fillers and doing the eyelashes.
I thought that was for themselves.
Doing the tattoo with the eyebrows and so on and so forth. They'll claim that's for themselves, but if it was for themselves, even with like the wigs and the weaves and so on and so forth, why is it that they take the makeup off when they go to sleep if it's only for yourself? Why wear it? Why wear? Huh?
I'd say why don't they wear it inside rather than why do they take it off when they're going to bed? It's going to ruin their skin. The makeup is going to obviously ruin your skin.
Okay.
It's not meant to be worn, so you're going to fuck yourself up.
True. That is true. But I would argue, why did they wear it all day? If it's going to mess your skin up, why would you wear it all day? You only take it off for a couple of hours.
I'd say they do it for their self-confidence, but the results
but when you're growing up, they didn't have that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they'll do it for their own self-confidence, right?
So did they lose confidence? Because they didn't have it. As a kid, they didn't use it. So when they got to a certain age, they started using it.
Yeah, so they're more self-conscious for sure.
Okay.
So now the confidence isn't the same because now.
Are they self-conscious, or has the society around
No, I
them
think
tell
what
them?
happens is you start to see the perks of what other women are getting. And then you're starting to say to yourself, oh, when the woman does herself like this or puts her makeup on like that or does her hair like that, there's perks, there's benefits that's happening for her. She's getting more fortunate in life. So then women will go in turn be in competition with each other, right? So when they're saying they're doing it for themselves, yes, they're boosting their confidence to then compete with their counterparts, which is other women. They're not necessarily doing it for the men, but at the end of the day, ultimately it's gonna be for the man that they want, because ultimately you try and make yourself look good and attractive to somebody that you want to choose you.
But what it's telling me is that you're marketing yourself amongst other women, because
Yeah,
as much
so
as
there's
you're
always
saying,
a form of marketing
yeah,
you have to do.
because
Absolutely.
again, like, it comes back down to the water. How do you determine?
It's all the same product,
How
but they're
it's like,
marketing
how
each
do you
other differently.
determine
Absolutely.
to buy one product than the other? Well,
Yeah, it's
you
marketing.
gotta market yourself. You can't do what the other person's doing. Your brand of person has to show a different level of marketing genius, where it's like, okay, this person got my attention. You know, when you go out sometimes and you see a girl when you're younger, and then they just catch your eye, like they
Yeah.
just
Got that spark.
spark. You know what I mean? Your heart is rushing, and you don't even know why it's rushing.
Yeah, but they just
They did something.
overwhelmed you.
They overwhelmed you,
Infatuation.
exactly. Infatuation, loss of words,
Of course.
paralysis. You know what I mean? You're stuttering. So
course.
your palms are sweaty. You're sweating.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You can't even open your mouth to say hi to the
Yeah,
to the
you
goddamn
can't even
woman.
talk. Let
You
alone
can't even talk. So what made you do that?
breathtaking. Like
Yes,
they say.
exactly. What made you do that? Some people call it butterflies in the stomach, but what made you do that? Her level of marketing made you do that, because she didn't just come out of her house in regular PJs
and get you stunned.
Yeah, no, she had to get herself done up.
And prefer.
You know, she wore a certain type of perfume.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She had to put herself together.
She put herself together. Her hair was done a certain type of way. You know, she put a level of makeup on, which she knew would be captivating to the eye. And hey, there you go. Now you see her, all these different things come into place where you're now knocked off your square.
Yeah, so like you said, the marketing of it, right? Whether it comes down to dating, and I think it's different even with dating now, because now you'd market yourself online. You wouldn't need to look good in
Is
life.
that really helping? I don't think that's helping
Yeah,
much men.
but
I mean,
I
a lot
wonder-
of men are losing on that front.
A lot of men are losing, but at the end of the day, like, I think I seen something on social media where this guy was using AI to basically date, to answer questions and respond to women as well, and all this type of stuff. And it seemed to have worked. Obviously, we don't know when the person meets up and stuff like that, but when it comes down to attraction, that's something you're gonna have, right? Like, you're gonna have to be attractive to a certain degree. But what I'm saying is, people nowadays don't even need to have a personality online if you can make it like a highlight reel, like you said. If you could market yourself the right way, because you're talking about marketing, right? But if I can market myself the right way, how are people meeting? A lot of people are meeting you off the online situations. So you have to think about it. So many people are online nowadays. So even though you're like, oh, that's not working, well, people are meeting up. I don't know.
Yeah,
about,
right.
But what you're talking about, whether they turn into long terms, that's a different story.
Yes, okay.
But the fact of them happening and having these interactions come to fruition, it's happening.
You're right,
And a
because
lot
there
of
was once upon a time that wasn't a
that
thing.
wasn't even a thing. Like, people weren't going on dates with randoms on the
Random
internet.
people.
They're
If
like,
you didn't
nah,
know
I don't
them,
know who you are.
It
Like,
was always based off mutuals.
yeah, it's super taboo, super,
Yes.
like, people weren't on that. Now, that's super normal. You can say you've been in a relationship with someone you met online, and that's not a big deal. Like, people can marry someone they met online. These things are changing, what I'm trying to say. So like I said, the marketing of yourself online could be very crucial, because nowadays you just need that to get through the front door,
Yes.
especially when it comes to even business opportunities.
Yes.
You know, if you have a certain amount of following and stuff like that, and someone wants to inquire about business and they see that, that's going to give them initiative to think, okay, this person must be important. This person must be doing something. And I think that's where social media confuses people, where it's like, if you inflate numbers and you can market yourself good, you might change your fortune. Actually, you might be able to like move some stuff, move some pieces on the
Move
board.
mountains, yeah.
Make
So-
some steps forward. So the fake it till you make it works more in this day and age because, like I said, even with AI, you could literally have a conversation with someone and use AI to respond and to give you good, answers to these questions or how to initiate the first date, how to this, how to that. So I believe like a lot of the kids nowadays or younger generation, they're just going to use the technology that's in front of us and they're going to try and utilize that to build themselves up. Honestly, I don't believe like we're going to have like
So they're gonna
true
leapfrog over
characters.
us.
I think they're just going to be like more savvy and they're going to leapfrog over like having even developing certain interpersonal skills and all that type of stuff. I think what's going to happen is like people are going to lean towards all this technology and then everything's going to be technology based where it's like even dating and stuff like that. Not to say it's going to work, but I think that's where we're headed. Is going towards the tech route. Every single thing. Like literally like everything's going in that route. So what makes you think dating not going to go in that route where it's like going to just be based on like numbers and data?
I think it's gonna go down that route.
And even remember Black Mirror had an episode like this.
They did. I can't remember that
Yeah,
episode.
They had an
Right?
episode like this.
Somebody told me the same thing, but I'm just. The thing is, Black Mirror had so many episodes. It's hard to pinpoint.
I forgot which one's called,
Which
but
one
it's like
it
kind of
is.
like this, like where everything's gonna be based on like your social media, kind of
Oh, with the ginger girl, and then after
Yeah.
she kind of lost
her ratings,
her ratings, and then she was trying to catch up with her ratings. Eventually,
for
she's like,
promotion. I
yeah,
think for a
yeah,
bigger
and then
job.
she finally gave up, and
and
yeah, because there was one girl that was already had no ratings.
yeah. So then
Yeah,
you
and then
had to
she had-
disconnect from
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But it's
Some
kinda
people will
weird.
disconnect.
Some people will disconnect, but I feel like we might head in that direction with like the
Yes.
social, because there's power to it, especially if there's money that can be made. Like brands are gonna give you money to promote and to look perfect and to promote certain stuff. People are gonna do it. Why do you think these relationship
So what do you
channels
think
work?
gonna happen to the celebrities then?
No, for example, why do you think these relationship channels work? Like people have relationship channels. Imagine they have a relationship Instagram, relationship YouTube page. Why do you think those work? Well, you can be authentic even too, but I mean, most of the time it's gonna be glitz and glam because you have a show, most likely on a program or network, you're getting paid anyway. So whether it's up and downs in the relationship, people would like that. People would like to be a part of those type of things, not necessarily for the relationship, but the fact that maybe we can be the next big thing. Even just man and woman, like might think, oh, we're cute, so we can make a cute couple channel. Like
So now my thing is, one of the final questions is, what do you think is gonna happen to celebrities, regular A-list celebrities that are currently in the music scene or the acting scene?
they're gonna
with
fall
Hollywood?
off, bro.
They're gonna fall off. And
What's gonna happen is they're just gonna the playing field's gonna be even. They're gonna be a content creator just like everyone else. Like
they fall into the same
eventually.
boat.
Like you can call them. They'll be working. Like they'll be different than like a social media person because they probably would have to go to like some sort of training and certain stuff. There'll always be that. But I think you can just skip the process. I mean, a lot of this is going to be down to how popular you are. So, I mean, I wonder how it's going to, I'm not, what's your thoughts on it?
I think, as you said, they're gonna fall into the same bucket as everybody else, and there won't be really a distinction between A-list celebrities that are within the Hollywood industry and pseudo celebrities who are on YouTube. They'll be on the same playing field.
I think so because they're gonna get the same credits.
They're gonna get the same credits.
same
They're gonna
call
get.
ups.
If anything, the YouTubers and the pseudo celebrities will probably be making more money than the people that are working on the Hollywood.
Because again, like, what do you call a pseudo celebrity that goes into like a big time production? Like from being a pseudo, like, are they not a
Look
celebrity?
at the Nut Boys. those guys were just pseudo celebrities, but yet they had an interview with Trump.
And they're in
So,
cahoots with Trump.
People
they
that are
know
A-list celebrities can't even get people like that.
Sniff him,
Not
can't
even
touch
close.
him,
Not
yeah.
even close. So if anything, these pseudo celebrities are even trumping the A-list
Yeah.
celebrity in Hollywood.
I think
and
it
so on and
doesn't
so
really
forth.
matter at this point. It's whoever has influence. In my
Yes.
opinion, it's an influence game. Whoever has the most influence, that's the A-list
That's the one that
celebrity.
wins. There we go.
That's the A-lister. Like the person that can call the masses together to do some shit, they're A-list.
There we go.
Not somebody that's been acting for years and has a fan base. I don't care about that. The person that can rally people today, they're the most important.
There we go. Couldn't say it any better than that. And this is Far From Normal Podcast. And we are out. Deuces.